Yo, basketball fans, finally, we got game 3 of Warriors playing the Celtics tonight. Finally, man, it feels like it's been forever since we have a basketball game. I know it's been a 2 day layoff until tonight, but it feels like it's been 5 days since these teams played a game. But tonight will be game 3 of both these teams competing for the Larry O'Brien Trophy, and the series is now tied 1-1 going into Boston, into the TD Garden. Honestly, people say it's one of the most toughest places to play. It's fucking whatever. It's fucking overrated to me. Fucking this fucking team thinks like they're title town, but they're not. They're fucking idiots, honestly. But whatever, it's fine. I guess whatever. They're a great fan base. Whatever, they're fucking shit anyway. But enough of me slandering their fan base. Um, let's talk about this game and my expectations. I expect hopefully a great competitive game tonight. When you look at the first 2 games, so far. It's been basically pretty close in the first half, but in the second half, both teams really have been able to pull away. When you look at game 1, Boston was up by 2 at halftime. In the second half, Boston really pulled away in that fourth quarter. Same thing game 2. Golden State was up by 2 at halftime, 52-50. Second half, Golden State pulls away in that third quarter. They're actually known for being a very good third quarter team. They're known for really being really dominant after halftime, but still they pull away in that third quarter. Really summed up by that Jordan Poole half court three, which is crazy, by the way. He's like acting like he's Steph Curry and all, but it was just incredible range. Um, Obviously, Steph had 29 points in that game to lead his team, so and Golden State won in blowout fashion as well. So when you look at the first 2 games of the series leading up tonight, it's been pretty close competitive series at times. Pretty close so far, but when you look at both these teams, they've been able to pull away in the second half. So that will hopefully see a consistent 48 minutes when these teams just competing with each other. Because you look at both these teams; these are really the top 2 defenses in the NBA. Boston was number 1 in the regular season. Golden State was number 2 in the regular season. Yes, Golden State doesn't have a lot of size like Boston does, but what they do have versatility, especially with Draymond Green. He's a guy that can really guard all 5 positions. We know he's capable of playing the 5, but we know how undersized he is. But he's just great, versatile defensively. He has a high IQ, knowing when players make a certain move, if they go right, if they go left. He understands tendencies with great elite offensive players. And so defensively, they're very disciplined themselves. So as great and as much as we want to praise Boston's defense, which we should, I mean, whatever. But Golden State's defense ain't bad either. They're second best defensively behind Golden State. I mean, sorry, behind Boston. So they're not that far off. So we'll see. Hopefully, a competitive game tonight. I don't want to see another blowout. It's been that way the first 2 games. Hopefully, we have a close game tonight. Hopefully, Jason Tatum has a big time game. Really hasn't had a big time game in these first 2 games. It's kind of been Jaylen Brown really kind of carrying that offensive load. I don't say carrying, but leading that offensive charge. So hopefully, Jason Tatum has a big time game tonight. He struggled in game 1 with the shots, even though he was doing great in the facilitating. In the second game, he kind of got himself going, but he wasn't really impactful enough on both ends of the floor. So hopefully Boston responds tonight. I just don't see Boston response tonight. As much as I fucking hate them, which I do, it'll be very interesting how they respond tonight, because we know how they respond after a loss. Every time they respond after a loss, their point differential after a loss in which they win is like 15 points, I think, per game. And Golden State's about the same thing. Like when they lost and when after a loss in the playoffs, they basically blow out teams after that the next game in response. So hopefully we see Boston do that today. Hopefully this time won't be a blowout. Maybe it might be a close game. I want to see that happen between these 2 teams. As much as I want to see Golden State kick their ass and blow the fuck out of them, which I kind of want. I just want a competitive game, a fair competitive game tonight. And hopefully the officiating is good. Hopefully we don't get these situations where they take so long they have to go to the replay room and review certain fucking shitty calls. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But I just want to see a clean, very competitive 48-minute game between these teams. Hopefully, when you look at Boston, first of all, they really haven't, I want to say, protected home. They've been great on the road, in which they've been actually road warriors, and not just by how they play, but their record itself. By their record itself, uh, I think they're I think they're 8-3 on the road, if I'm not mistaken. And then like at home, they're kind of a different story. They've lost 4 times in TD Garden. twice against the Bucks and twice against the Heat. So they lost 4 times at home in the playoffs before getting to the finals. So they haven't been as great at home as they are on the road, which is kind of weird because Boston's kind of a people say it's a tough place to play, but the way Boston plays at home doesn't look like it. So people say they have great home court advantage, but they don't really take advantage of it. So they really haven't taken advantage of their home court whenever they're given the opportunity. So Boston tonight, we'll see how they respond. We'll see how they play at home because they're just a different team at home than on the road, which is kind of crazy because usually a team that plays better at home and kind of solid on the road. You don't play like, oh well, you play bad at home and you're kind of really good at road. It's just kind of a weird feeling there. So we'll see what Boston does. It's not like they're a great home team in the playoffs, at least so far. When you look at Golden State, only had one home loss, which was Game One, and that they dominated at home, basically. And on the road, they've been kind of edgy. They've been kind of up and down. So we'll see what happens tonight. And to me, I expect a big time bounce back for Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, let's be honest, first 2 games he's really been struggling. He hasn't really shot the ball well. And it's not like this guy has been. I mean, look, obviously Boston's defense has done something with that, but he's had some pretty good looks. He just hasn't been able to knock him down. And look, great shooters continue to shoot, and I think he's going to continue to get better. He's going to be shooting. I'm not concerned with Klay, as a lot of people are. You look at ESPN media, people talking about Klay Thompson. I'm not concerned. I think he'll get back on track. They're just, I think at times the Boston defense, you got to give them some credit. They've been physical with them. They've been forcing him to kind of put the ball on the floor more than just like catching and shooting at time. Not to say Klay can't do it. Klay is really good at, especially when he does that little kind of make a couple of dribbles and a step through to make a shot. He's pretty good at that. But since that Achilles injury, we know he's torn it ACL. I think torn Achilles, whatever it is, twice. He's not really that same player where he can just get off the dribble. And defensively, he ain't the same either. It's not like this guy moves his feet. He can still defend solid, but he ain't like that same defender he was before the injury. So we'll see what happens. But I expect Klay to play really good tonight. And I think Golden State made some adjustment in the second half that I think they should do in Game 3. We know how Boston physical defensively there. And we know the Warriors love to move the ball, love to get in their sets. I love how Steve Kerr just said, let's make this simple. Let's have Steph and anyone who sets the screen just put a pick and roll or create a drop coverage for Boston. Because that's what Boston did. They did a drop coverage, and every time that happened for Boston, the Warriors just burned them. Steph Curry burned them. So I like to see Warriors do more of that tonight. Do more screen and roll action, do more pick and roll action. That'll get Boston to think a little bit more defensively rather than just, try to move around with dribble handoffs or screen actions. I just feel like Boston can understand and predict that, a shot's going to happen. They're going to contest it well. So I'd like to see more of that tonight. I think they did something great in the second half in terms of adjustment standpoint from Golden State's side. So, but that's what Ime Udoka to make some adjustments. I mean, he's done a fantastic job in his first year. It's unbelievable what he's done. I mean, take his team to the finals in his first year. I mean, we've seen coaches done it before, but man, what he's done this year is incredible. Shout out to him. But we'll see tonight how he responds, how his team responds. Obviously, Boston can be they're very mentally tough and physically tough. So we'll see what happens tonight. We know Golden State's capable. We know they have the heart of a champion. We know they are going to go out there tonight, try to steal back home court advantage after they kind of laid the egg in Game 1, especially in the fourth quarter. So we'll see what happens tonight. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to really test who can. It's going to test both these teams in terms of their mental toughness because we don't know. Because at times when we look at both these teams, they've had the ability to blow each other out, especially in the second half. So we'll see what happens tonight. We know how great defensively these teams are. We know both these teams can make big time runs. So we'll see what happens tonight. And yeah, I mean my prediction tonight. I think Boston will win tonight. I do. I just don't see them losing back to back. They've always responded after a loss, and so I expect Boston to win tonight. I would not be surprised if the Warriors win, but I just don't see Boston losing tonight. They have to win tonight to me because if they lose this one tonight, not to say they won't respond, but to me, like I just feel like they won't respond like Game 4 or something. But I just feel they have to win tonight. I think Jason Tatum needs to have a big time game. Not to say he has to go for 40, but just have an efficient game tonight. He's kind of been inefficient these first 2 games, not turn the ball over, like stuff like that. And so Boston's really been. We saw in Game 2 they were inefficient. They had a lot of turnovers in that game. They used Golden State points off and offensively. So Boston has to make sure to take care of the ball and and we'll see from there what happens. But I like Boston tonight. Hopefully it's close, but I like Boston winning Game 3 tonight. Uh, so yeah, that's my prediction, and that's my expectations for tonight. So hopefully we have a great game tonight.